Today's reading comes from 2 Chronicles, chapter 1, verse 9 to 12. Now, Lord God, please keep your promise to David my father, for you have made me king over a people as numerous as the dust of the earth. Give me wisdom and knowledge to rule them properly, for who is able to govern this great nation of yours? God said to Solomon, because your greatest desire is to help your people, and you did not ask for personal wealth and honour, or the death of your enemies, or even a long life, but rather you asked for wisdom and knowledge to properly govern my people. I will certainly give you the wisdom and knowledge you requested, and I will also give you riches, wealth, and honour, such as no other king has ever had before or will ever have again. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Michelle. Normally, of course, we would follow the reading with a few words from Reverend Clark, but unfortunately he's unable to be with us this morning. But I know that he'll be in your thoughts and prayers as he recuperates in hospital from some surgery. Board Chairman, Mr. Barry Stevens, and other board members, fellow principals, Mrs. Scott and Mr. Berry, staff, parents and students, my welcome to you to this special assembly in which we come together to acknowledge the newly selected leadership teams for 2006. I'd like to begin by expressing my gratitude to all of those who have served the school in leadership roles in 2005, particularly the prefects and the senior committees. The senior committee's work, even as recently as last night, was evident in the amazing leadership that led to the international evening concert. Those who weren't there, I can tell you, you missed a fantastic event. You also missed seeing me dance, but it's probably a good thing you weren't there. Senior committees play a very significant role in the life of the senior school. They're given licence to do things in an adult fashion, and they bear both the risk and responsibility as well as the praise and the applause for their efforts. Being on a senior committee can highlight people who are all talk and no action, but more often they highlight those who have great leadership potential and those who are prepared to serve. Both of those are traits that university enrolment officers and prospective employers are holding in increasingly higher esteem these days. It's very pleasing, therefore, to be able to announce today the names of the new senior committees for 2006. I'm heartened by how many people applied, and I look forward to what you will offer to your school in the coming 12 months. These people will be presented with their badges of office next term, so for today I will ask that they just remain seated. However, I would like to read their names out, and if you can hold your applause until the end. I'll start with the new Cultural Committee, which consists of Genevieve Aitken, Tim Burrows, Caroline Gray, Chuck Bly, Alicia Norcross, Tom Pole, Amy Sholem, Terry Yin, Kai Baker, Mark Goschel, Hayon Sun Jin, Winnie Ng, Christina Penzo, Vicky Roderick, and Francois Verster. The International Committee will consist of Noof Al-Safaf, Yun Jin Chung, Jay Han, Billy Kim, Martha Lee, Ryan Madanajakoji, Ko Matsasura, Adrian McKenna, Kelly Newcomb, and Claire Seabrook Davidson. The Liaison Committee, Candy Chu, Delia Kotros, Ian Gilmore, Jay Han, Hannah Jamison, Yung Jung Im, Billy Kim, Kevin Lee, Thea Mays, and Jun Park. The ever-popular Senior Functions Committee, Annika Calder, Robert Clark, Charlotte Hanson, Lucia Jowsey, Sam Leach, Sarah Lynch, Madeline McWay-Jones, Toby Mandino, Kate McGuinness, Katie Moller, Rebecca Newman, Claire Pico, Ivy Rowe, Catherine Vallant, Lani Willard, Phil Williams, Danielle Withers, Omar Zamarelli. On to the Service Committee, which will comprise George Chen, Victoria Gifford, Rory Howard, Justin Kang, Leah Kim, Paul Lee, Jennifer Parvu, Bridget Riley, Chloe Sayes, Jenny Turner, Rachel Walker, and Sam Webb. The new Sports Committee, who have big shoes to fill after this year. Jordan Davis, Callum Brown, Katharina Charles, Hannah Dooley, Jared Foster, Alex Francis, Andrew Hickey, Matt Holloway, James Irvine, Zach Porrath, Craig Porter, Tom Ridley, Alyssa Tanza, Seamus Tyler Baxter, Corey Walker, Sean Weinstock, Michael Yu. And last but not least, the new management committee will be Nick Arbuckle, Melanie Archibald, Olivia Bodenay, Hannah Brooks, Sarah Craig, Sarah Edwards, Charlotte Grieve, Curtis Hunter, Mortiza Kushko, Rosanna Lees, Jess Lockwood, Seb McKinnon, Gareth Ogg, Giancarlo Penzo, Matt Pine, Tracy Stambridge, Amanda Thomas, Nick Wetherall, and Rebecca Wyatt. Would you congratulate those people? If that seemed like a lot of names, it was. Coupled with the 20 new prefects, 111 senior Year 13 students will be in formal leadership roles next year. That is a fantastic tribute to the calibre of the students in the school. The only warning I would sound is that getting elected to office is one thing, proving yourself when you're there is another. And my challenge to you is to do as well, if not better, as the committees and prefect groups that have succeeded you. It's now my pleasure to ask Alex Borwick to play for us. As was explained at the recent Cultural Awards Assembly, Alex is one of the finest musicians to have passed through Kristin School and is currently regarded as possibly the best trombonist of his age in New Zealand. It is always a pleasure for me to hear Alex play, and he will now perform Tangerine by Johnny Mercer. Thank you, Alex. Exceptional as ever. I read an article about you the other day. Not about you specifically, about your generation. Always interesting to me when people try and make vast stereotypes about whole generations. I belong to a generation that has been called the baby boomers, as do many of your parents, I suspect, the people who were born in the years following the Second World War up until 1965. Since then there have been a number of generations. Generation X, Generation Y, all of which have a whole lot of stereotypes about them. You apparently are the millenniums, or the millies. What a stupid name that is. But that's what the advertising people call you, the Millie generation. And it was very intriguing for me to read some characteristics of your generation, the sort of thing that you hear tossed around fairly regularly. You live fast, you make snap judgments, you live for the moment, from fast food to texting 24/7. You expect things to be there for you right now, this instant. Apparently you're a bit cynical. But one thing caught my eye, reading this article about you, Millies, and that was apparently you don't have a lot of time for heroes. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but if it is, that's a bit sad. Because my generation had lots of heroes. Here's my first hero. When I was 6, the Lone Ranger was pretty cool. When I look back on him now, I wonder what I was thinking. When you look at that neck scarf, you wonder what he was thinking. But it was pretty neat as a little 6-year-old boy for Petey to run around the streets with his mates playing Lone Ranger. Heroes in that day, for me, were people who arrived on a white horse called Silver, surprisingly, fixed the problem, and left. They had all the knowledge, all the power, all the ability. They came in, they sussed it out, and they shot through. As you grow up, of course, you realise that life's not always like that. And your heroes change a bit. You realise that, in fact, the leaders that you admire don't just wander in, solve problems and go away. Usually they're there for the long run. And as I got older and learned a bit more and read a few things and met a few people, another figure took my attention as a hero, and that was a man called Ernest Shackleton. And many of you have heard me speak about Shackleton. A hero and a leader, not because he was successful in what he did, in fact he absolutely and utterly failed in his final expedition, but because he was the epitome of humility and empathy. He cared for people. And the things that you remember about Shackleton when you've read his story are not the great voyages, but the little things. The fact that when everyone was despairing and certain that they were going to die, he was the one outside their tent merrily calling out that there was a cup of tea. That even though he was the leader at the top, he would often polish their shoes. That when there was a little bit of food left, he would give it to the lowliest of the crew rather than use it himself. And so your belief in what makes good leaders changes, and you realise that it's people that are there for the long haul, people who do the little things all the time. But of course I never met Ernest Shackleton. And one of the other things you learn as you grow up a bit is that you need to have heroes that are a bit closer at hand. People you can learn from on a daily basis rather than reading their biography or watching them on the IMAX. And so when I think about reading the article about your generation now and the thought that you may not have heroes, I want you to know that I still have heroes, and they include the people in this next slide. Because they are people that I work with daily, who do the small things all the time, who do put themselves second, who are constantly there, who are empathetic and who are humble. I told the new prefects a few days ago that very rarely in our lives do we get the chance to be a hero. Not often do we see a burning building and get the chance to smash in, save the cat and the widow and the burning baby and bring them all to safety. The reality is our heroism and our leadership opportunities are usually quite mundane, domestic, daily. They happen in the kitchen, they happen in the common room, happen in the car park and in the playground. But that doesn't make them any less important than the heroism of the Lone Ranger or Ernest Shackleton. So who do we admire? Or more importantly, who does your generation admire? I hope the answer to that is the person sitting 2 or 3 seats away from you. I hope that the answer to that is the person you sit down to the dinner table with. And I hope for many of you, like me, it is the people sitting on the stage up here. Your generation doesn't look to the Lone Ranger for leadership. You don't believe in larger than life individuals who ride in and give directions and lead the way to great accomplishments. You don't necessarily rate age or seniority or rank as a measure of accomplishment, unlike an earlier time where people automatically admired their elders. But in an era of complexity and change, you look for leaders who work with their followers as intimate allies. You want colleagues who will develop relationships with you, build intimacy, show trust and respect for you. And I think that's what you've had this past year. So I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the departing Prefect team. These people, ably led by Blake and Louise, have made an enormous contribution to this school in the past 12 months, not just to the senior school, but to the middle and junior school as well. Their work, much of it behind the scenes, and everyday interactions with other students, has had a big impact on the tone and culture of Kristin. It has also had a big impact on their own pursuits. I'm very conscious of the toll that being a prefect takes on your academic progress, on your extracurricular involvement, even on your social and family lives. Team, I have valued your commitment and your company immensely, and I thank you all. I'd ask you to stand and I'd ask the school to show your appreciation for the Prefect team in 2015. Standing, I also need to make special mention of 2 people amongst them for whom I have the utmost respect. As you are aware, I hold the concept of servant leadership very dear. I believe it is better to want to lead because it's a way to serve, rather than wanting to serve because it's a way to lead. Blake Hanson and Louise Walker are, in my view, the epitome of servant leaders. Indeed, I have often felt a fraud in their company this year, as I am certain they have taught me more about leadership than anything I ever taught them. They have served the school with humility, pride, empathy, and absolute personal commitment over the past year, and it has been my privilege to work with them. I'd ask you to show your appreciation to the head boy. As is our tradition, the current prefects will now form a line on the stage and hand over their badge of office to the incoming team. And I'll invite those people up one by one. So the new prefect team for 2006. Danielle Bailey. Melissa Bridges. Samuel Colbert. Richard Dangerfield. Jess Donnelly. Gal Eyal. Chris Grief. Jerome Hamlin. Sharon Harford, Genevieve Halliwell, Jennifer Martin, Elise Matisse, Stephanie Mittiger, Casey Murray, Simon Poulton, Jeremy Reid, Harry Rowell, Mitchell Tweedy, Aidan Varan, and Samantha Watkins. Blake's managed to pin both of them without sticking his finger. That's well done. I'll ask you to turn around and welcome, if you could turn around team, and welcome the new prefects for today. I'll just ask you to remain standing, team. There is one last ceremony to perform. I'd like to ask my colleagues, Mrs. Scott and Mr. Berry, if they would come forward to present the badges to the new head boy and girl for Kristin School for 2006, the people who will lead all of us in the coming year. And those two people are Chris Grief and Elise Matisse. Keep you standing for a minute, guys, because we're almost done. It just remains for me to thank you all for an particularly intense and productive term. It is a little sad, I know, that while the rest of the school are due to go off on holiday tomorrow, you're off on a 2-week study break. However, I promise you that the investment you make preparing for your examinations in the next fortnight will be worthwhile. You will return to a term in the senior school which will be entirely and utterly focused on your academic success. There will be no distractions. We will all be working for a common cause, and that is that you get the best marks possible. Come back well prepared and with the right attitude, and I guarantee you that you will succeed in a way that has become traditional in this school. In a minute I'm going to ask you to stand for the recessional, at the end of which I'm going to invite the special guests, both the outgoing and the incoming prefect team and their parents, to join us for tea and coffee in the LIC foyer. So would you please stand for the recessional?
Please be